let you do it, you can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
The Trump campaign staff knew that was coming. The people in the Trump campaign who were telling him not to say, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not, probably knew that that would revive Donald Trump's public confession of being a repeated sexual assaulter on that Access Hollywood videotape 8 years ago. But they were probably afraid, the campaign staff was probably afraid to tell Donald Trump why they thought he shouldn't say that last night. They were probably afraid to say it'll revive the Access Hollywood video. And so, because it's just a little too easy and logical to link what Donald Trump is saying about women in the campaign now to what he said about women on the Access Hollywood tape 8 years ago, that's why the campaign staff didn't want him to say that. If you're a star, they let you do it. Here is Donald Trump under oath in a deposition in the E. Jean Carroll case.
You say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
There is Donald Trump in an under oath deposition where it's impossible for staff to protect him and therefore impossible to hide how breathtakingly stupid he is. Donald Trump's stupid comment about whether women like it or not has revived the Access Hollywood video for voters who didn't know it even existed because they were too young 8 years ago and their parents shielded them from it. The Washington Post reports, I don't think any of my friends had heard it, said Kate Sullivan, a 21-year-old student in Ohio who heard the tape for the first time on her TikTok For You feed this week. We all felt equally shocked. She immediately felt compelled to share the audio in her own video with the superimposed text, "Fathers are voting for this man." The video has been viewed by 2.5 million times and was reshared by singer Billie Eilish to her 68 million followers. Here's the first thing Vice President Harris said on the campaign trail in Arizona today.
Did everyone hear what he just said yesterday? That he will do what he wants, quote, and here's where I'm going to quote, whether the women like it or not. And we must vote because this is the thing. You know, there's a saying that you got to listen to people when they tell you who you are, who they are. And this is not the first time he has told us who he is. He does not believe women should have the agency and authority to make decisions about their own bodies. This is the same man who said women should be punished for their choices. He simply does not respect the freedom of women or the intelligence of women to know what's in their own best interest and make decisions accordingly. But we trust women. We trust women.
Vice presidential candidate Tim Walz said this today.
Last night, Donald Trump said that if you're a woman, he'll be your protector. And he also said this. Imagine that this was a moment of self-reflection for him. He says, I know a lot of people don't like that. Oh, no shit, they don't like it. But here's the scary part, people, because there's no excuse for not hearing this, because he said it. He said, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. That's how this guy's lived his life. That's why he was on the Access Hollywood tape, and that's why he ended up in court, because that's what he thinks about it. This feeling of women right now in this, every age and every party. Here's what's going to happen on Tuesday. They are going to send a loud and clear message to Donald Trump on November 5th. They're going to send that message whether he likes it or not.
Tonight in Reno, Nevada, Vice President Harris said this.
We have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done with that. We're exhausted by it. We're done with that. We're done with it. And Reno, this is the thing. We know that this is not who we are. That's not who we are. And it is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States. Growing up, I saw how hard my mother worked to give her daughters the same chance our country gave her. And I was blessed to have family by blood and family by love, who instilled in me the values of community and compassion and faith. I've spent my life fighting for the people who have been hurt and who have been counted out, and people who never stopped, even then, believing that in our country anything is possible. I've lived the promise of America, and I see the promise of America in everyone here. It is in all of us. It is in all of us. It is in all of us. It is in the women who refuse to accept a future without reproductive freedom. It is in the men who support them. Children's future. It is in the Republicans who never voted for a Democrat before, but have put the Constitution of the United States above party. I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who are voting for the first time. This generation, Gen Z, I'm gonna shout you out. Let me tell you what I love about you all, you leaders, you young leaders, as you are rightly impatient for change. I love that about you. You are determined to live free from gun violence, to take on the climate crisis, to shape the world that you inherit. This for them is a lived experience. It's not political. It's what they're living. And to the young leaders, then I say, I see you. I believe in you, and I see your power.
Our first guest tonight has done something that no man has ever done. He has spent the last 4 years living in the Vice President's residence in Washington, D.C. as the spouse of the Vice President of the United States. The day Joe Biden chose Kamala Harris as his vice presidential running mate, Doug Emhoff's life changed utterly. And he decided in that moment to set an important ethical standard for spouses in Washington by completely giving up his career as a partner in a major law firm so that there could be no hint of conflict of interest with his wife's sworn duty as Vice President of the United States. The spouses of Supreme Court justices have not done that. They have chosen to live not at a lower ethical standard, but at no ethical standard. It is sadly common for spouses of members of Congress, both House and Senate, to have occupations that present, at minimum, the appearance of conflicts of interest and possible ethical gray areas. And Doug Emhoff left his very high-paying job at an international high-powered law firm and took a gigantic pay cut to teach law at Georgetown. His teaching schedule has allowed him to never miss the important moments in his wife's life, the historic moments. This has been a presidential campaign in which Kamala Harris has had to deliver the most important speech of her life more than once, because the next big speech in this campaign has always become more important than the one before it. And after each of those, the first voice she hears is the voice of our next guest, Doug Emhoff, who joined me for a discussion we recorded earlier this evening. Joining us now from Nevada is the second gentleman of the United States, Doug Emhoff. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Great to be here, Lawrence. Thank you so much.
So you have been speaking on the campaign trail, also knocking on doors, sometimes, I think today maybe knocking on doors. What has surprised you the most when you meet people out there in the campaign trail, especially when you go up to knock on a door?
You know, you're never sure what you're going to get, and what you're seeing is the passion, the enthusiasm, but also the emotion. And people are really getting what the policies that she's talking about are going to mean to them. Just today, I met a veteran who was literally in tears, thinking about what would happen to him and his life if his benefits were taken away, Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits. Got very emotional. And he's going out there knocking on doors himself, trying to get his community here in Las Vegas to get behind Kamala Harris. I had a Republican actually run out their door. I hadn't even knocked on that door and just said, hey, I'm a Republican voting for Kamala Harris. You know, I'm choosing country over party, which is the message that we're getting out there. I spoke to another young woman, Puerto Rican descent, was so outraged by, what had gone on at that rally. And she said the future starts on November 5th. And so the message is getting out there. People not only can see Kamala Harris as president, but listening to what she's saying, the words that are uniting us, being a president for everyone, you're really feeling it on the ground, not only here in Nevada, but I've been, Lawrence, traveling for almost 15 straight weeks, and it's the same thing everywhere I go.
Yeah, in those 15 straight weeks, the Vice President of the United States has given the most important speech of her life a few times. The next one always becomes the most important one, as we saw this week at the Ellipse. And at the end of that speech, when she delivered what clearly was, at that point, the most important speech of her life, and probably will remain so. It's probably unlikely there'll be a bigger one than that before the end of the campaign. The very first voice she hears is your voice. You are that first person after those giant moments in her life. What did you say to her when you got out there on the stage with her after that speech?
I looked her in the eyes, not only as her husband, but also as a proud American who just felt like I was seeing the President of the United States. I just looked her in the eyes and I said, I am so proud of you and I love you so much. And it was, again, as you said, Lawrence, every single time that she's needed to step up, she's exceeded incredibly high expectations, whether it was, the launch in July, whether it was her DNC speech, whether it was the debate against Donald Trump.